welcome to Way Back When with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Way Back When History Show with your hosts Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter travel team on the Love Your Parks Tour and publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and Parks and Travel magazine. You can see them all at bigblendmagazines.com. Very excited to have author and genealogist Miss Holly T. Hansen, the Gen teacher, back on the show today. You know, she's one of our Big Blend experts. You can see her up on blendradioandtv.com. Also nationalparktraveling.com, where she talks about roots travel. She is joining us today to talk about creating a genealogy wish list for spring. Spring has sprung and it's time to get out and about, and she's going to teach us what we can do at all the gatherings that we have, you know, family gatherings like Mother's Day, Easter. So what can we do to expand our knowledge of family history, or really to help us trace our family tree? So welcome back, Miss Holly. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm happy. So glad to be here. This is my favorite activity, creating
Awesome.
wish lists.
Wish list. I know, because it's kind of like goal setting, isn't it? When what you're doing, it's like, make a plan for whatever you do.
It's the beginning of a goal. Yeah, it really is.
And I never thought about making a genealogy wish list. In fact, I had to say, when you said, "Hey, I want to write about this," and everyone, Holly's article's up on blendradioandtv.com, so you can see it there. I never thought about creating a wish list. I'm like, what do you mean? And but now it made sense once I read the article. So tell us a little bit about this whole idea. It's really about going out with your family now to increase your knowledge of your ancestors, right?
It is. You know what I like to do is I like to sit down with a piece of paper, and it's really fun if you have some cute little notepad that's springy, go to the store and buy a new one.
There it
but
is.
I like to use my pencil and paper and think, okay, I'm going to choose an ancestor that I want to, because I'm always thinking about family history, and I'm going to choose an ancestor that I want to work on or I want to know more about. And then I'll think, okay, Easter's coming, and so I could go look for the church records where this ancestor went to church. And if I don't know what the religion was or where they might have gone, there are maps online. You can go to different map places, and we talk about church records. One of the books that we've authored is how to use church records.
Mm-hmm.
And it's full of really good information on that. But you can find maps that pinpoint where churches are, or cemeteries, or any other thing. But I like to do that and identify what religion they were, and then do a little bit of research and find out where are those records. Now, if it's an ancestor that's close to me, like my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
I can remember what church she went to because I visited her and I went with her. So if I'm going home for a visit, I can just stop into the church and ask them what kind of records they have. And I've been into a lot of different churches throughout my career, and they'll just have their little room where the secretary will have all these files with all this stuff on family. But if it's an ancient church, they happened in the 1800s, maybe those records have been deposited somewhere else. Maybe they're no longer in the church, or maybe the church building itself has burned down or been destroyed or moved, or, in the Catholic Church, they have dioceses, so records are sent to a central repository. In the Baptist Church, they have things like that they go to different places that records are sent. And so you just need to do a little bit of research and gain some knowledge. So one is, if you want to travel and do some family things, say, okay, I'm going to go take pictures of where I went to church with grandma when I was little, or you can get online and say, I want to find out about this church that my ancestor would have been through 1812 to the 1890s, and see what I can learn. So when we travel, we can get in our car or on an airplane and go somewhere. We can ride our bike, or we can get on the internet. And traveling on the internet, I recently had a gal send me a little thing and say, I'd like to know about how to do research in the old 96 in South Carolina because I'm going there. And I'm like, oh, good. When are you going? And she goes, well, I wish I was physically going, but I'm going there with my research, so I'll be doing it online, and I need some help. That's the kind of thing that we can do. So travel can be virtual travel is quite exciting when you're doing family history because there's so many resources online that are available to us.
That's why
So
Nancy does maps, these Google Maps on
know.
our tour. So, and you know about it. We're like map addicts. So Nancy creates these Google Maps, and as we travel, we put up, gardens across America, family history, graveyards across America, all these things, parks. But when you can, they pop up with a little information and an image. But what's so cool is you can virtually go there. You just use that little icon, and you can go. Glenn at Norfolk Tours in England. You know how we've been on shows together with him. We can go see Glenn on
I went
Google
to
Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I went right to his driveway. I'm like, look at that.
Yep, Glenn.
Exactly.
So you can actually go to these old houses. You just zoom in and zoom in. It's kind of addictive because you kind of feel like you're flying. It's like, you're virtually there.
It is. It is. And there are a lot of GPS things out there that help us, and we can get exact GPS coordinates. You can overlay old maps from the 1700s, the 1600s on modern Google Earth and find the place's exact coordinates today. It's really pretty cool. There's some fun and exciting things that are out there, and we write about them and teach about them, and so that's one of the things I really love to do.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I was on your Amazon page today, and everyone just type in Holly T. Hansen on Amazon, and I can't keep up with the number of books you've written. You've written everything from Scandinavian family history research to the church records to, the Northeast and railroads. And I mean, it's like, wow, you've been around the world. So talk about Googling. Check that out, everybody.
Well, some of the books that I do, I'm the compiler and the main editor, and I have invited other people who have expertise to contribute. And so one of the things that I really have a talent for is when I don't know something, I know how to find out. I have people call me and say, well, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? Well, I've never done it before, but within a few minutes, I know exactly the process to take to begin doing it. And that just takes, it's like doing a magazine. You guys can whip out a magazine every month. How many people out there can do that? It's a talent. It's something that you gain the skill with after doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
And mine is to learn about information and to answer questions. And many things I've done, and I can right off the top of my head tell you the answer for. And other things I'm like, oh, give me 1 minute, and then I'll come back to you with the answer because I know how to get that information. That's what my talent is. That's why I'm good at family history, and that's why I love it so much, because it's challenging, but I can do it.
You're a sleuth. Yep, she's an investigator, family history investigator. And so that's the thing. You have to have the goals, like you're saying. So you talk about Mother's Day. That's an interesting day. Nancy was born on Mother's Day, so it's a very important day.
Every 7 years.
Every 7 years she gets born again as a mother. But it's interesting. She was born on Mother's Day, so every 7 years we have to have a double celebration. But when it comes to Mother's Day, it's interesting because then you really do. You're talking about how to trace your mother to your grandmother, and you start going backwards that way. And it's, when you hear the stories of family history, a lot of times, people keep quiet, like grandmothers will keep quiet of the bad things. And so I think Mother's Day, it's kind of interesting to sit down and have those conversations and kind of dig, kind of look at, what have our mothers overcome through the years that they often keep quiet. So try and pull it out of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sometimes as a mother, and Nancy, you'll probably agree with this, we don't talk about our experiences, not because we don't care about them, but no one asks.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'm in trouble.
If someone asks a question, we might get quite animated about some of our life experiences, but it's not like we sit around thinking, well, what can I tell you today? Unless you're really a storyteller. Storytellers are really good at stuffing things at you constantly, and it's interesting because they're good at that. But for some of us, for me, I'm always looking at this interesting stuff in my ancestors' lives. I don't think about how interesting my own life is. So for example, for Mother's Day, are you going to travel somewhere to see a grandparent, or you know, you're with your mom already, but a lot of our family members out there, maybe their mother's gone and they want to go talk to someone that's still living that has memories of her. We have these little books that you can interview people. It's got all the questions. You can interview people and, you know, you think, well, what should I ask? And then after someone's passed away, you go, dang, I never thought to ask that. But these little books that I've created have all those questions that stimulate your mind and then get you thinking of other questions. You know, it's not, everything's not in there, but it's really got the information, and they're written from the voice of a child, so it's non-threatening. One of the things that I learned when I went to the university, took a psychology class, if you do an interview, whether it's a military interview of some former veteran or a political person or your family, if you take a small child with you, they will be more honest. Isn't that interesting? The person will be more honest, but how many of us have a small child to pack around, you know?
Go borrow
it's
one.
not really
Rent
convenient.
a child.
That's funny. You have to have a child in order to be honest.
Rent a child.
But it's not always convenient because they don't just sit there with their arms folded. You know, they don't. But these books are written from the voice of a child, and so it has that. I mean, that's the idea. I thought, oh, you can't always take a child with you, but you can do the questions in a manner that's more childlike, and yet they elicit information that will help you to further your research as you. And people know things they don't know they know. So as Mother's Day comes on your wish list, do you want to know about your mom? Do you want to know about your grandma? For me, it's like, okay, I'm going to ask some questions of this person and find out more information. You know, my grandmother, she never left a journal or a diary of any kind. But my mother's still living. I could ask her questions. I have one uncle that's still living. I could ask him questions. I have a plethora of cousins. You know, I have 72 first cousins. I can get a lot of information. Each one will have a different memory of my grandmother. And I could really write a huge book about her life just based on the memories of her grandkids. You know, what was grandma really like? And then we could all tell what our memory was. And it'd be fun and interesting for her descendants.
Well, and I
so
think
that's the kind of thing on my wish list is let's do some interviews
and
decide who you're going to talk to.
In your Father's Day, you do the same thing, and to me, that's part of it. A lot of people want to know their family history because it's like, oh, they did this. Oh, I'm kind of like this. So it's kind of like you're wanting to find the likenesses between each other. Sometimes you don't want to have the likenesses, depending on what happened. You know what I mean? But sometimes you'll see the good. There's always going to be something in there, you know. But you know, and I think Father's Day is very similar to Mother's Day, right?
It is. And I just had a thought come to my mind. Inspiration as we go forward with our wish list. This is something I want to do on my wish list. I have 14 interview books, and they're not up on Amazon yet. But I want to get those on Amazon as Kindle books so that every one of you that are listening to this could say, you know what, I want to interview my mom, and you can get that on a Kindle book, have it on your phone, and use your phone to do the recording. All you have to do is read the questions and then do the recording. Isn't that a great idea?
It's relaxed because then it's more of a conversation. You know, it's like, you know, back in the reporter days, we got our notepad and everybody gets all like, oh, but then when you have a recorder there, eventually people forget. I mean, people forget that we're interviewing them on a radio show a lot of times because it's done over the phone or with a headset. And, you know, then, I mean, we've gotten some good scoop over the years, let me tell you.
Yeah, we got scandal.
we got scandal on Willie Nelson. His own son gave us, you know, he was tied to the bed with forks with his ex-wife, tied him to a bed with rope and forks. It's tied all around him.
Holy cow.
I know. It's so cool. So recording on your phone is easy. That's, you know, and it's really neat.
So you could do video, you could do everything, and everything's right in the palm of your hand, and you don't have to go anywhere. I mean, if you're sitting at Mother's Day and somebody starts telling a story, just turn it on. Whether you video or just do sound recording. And we have some really good, that's another article that we could do sometime, is the different modern tools we have to help us with recording, whether it's video or sound, that you can just do from your Android or your iPhone. Be fun.
It's fun asking questions, especially to grandparents and great grandparents, because they get to an age where they don't care what they say so much. Like I found
That's
out,
right. No filter.
yeah, it's true. And they are a
I know
little
what
bit
Nancy's
more.
going to be like when she's a
Yeah,
grandma. The
they're
fruitcake
a little
lady.
more forthcoming with what they say. Like I found out when I was a teenager, I found out that my mom is an identical twin to my aunt. I found out that my dad dated my aunt first and ended up marrying my mom.
So yes, exactly.
That's great scandal, you know. And when my grandmother told us that, then when I got back home, I'm like, Mom, it's true. She was so angry. It was really fun.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Oh, how fun. That is fun.
I
It
know, you know, the scandal, but that's when these, you know, gatherings are about. You know, and Dad's out there at the barbecue because it may be Father's Day, but you know he wants to be at the barbecue, right? He's out there maybe having a cold one. That's the time. He's all loosey-goosey, relaxed. You go in and say, so really, what, tell us about when you first started dating Mom, you know? You know, kind of get in there, you know, find out and see what's going on. And but the one thing I think that, you know, we're all giggly, but Memorial Day is really a special time too. And that's where you say we can go to the different cemeteries and, you know, pay our respects, but also sometimes aren't sometimes like the different family members buried next to each other?
Oh yeah, they are. Usually, you know, you can buy a section, like 6 graves at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just fill them in as people pass. And so often that's the case. And sometimes they'll bury grandchildren at the feet of a grandparent because the parents are still living. If a young child dies, they'll often bury him at the feet, so you can see these. You won't realize that if you're looking at a list that someone's just created a list and then they alphabetize it. You have no idea where they're at in the cemetery. But now with Billion Graves and Find a Grave, you can kind of map that out a little bit. And so it's interesting. But the thing that I love about cemeteries is also looking at the headstone art. And it, you know, people when they're burying their family members, they want to put some symbol on there that symbolizes their life in a picture. And, you know, you'll see sometimes, like my father-in-law on his headstone, it's got the mountains and a deer, because he just loves spending time in the mountains and watching wildlife. But others, you'll see a symbol that's like a Masonic compass or Woodman of the World. You know, if you don't know what that symbol is, you see it, you go, what is that? But there are books out there that tell you what they are, and then that will open to you, oh my gosh, they were, you know, there's going to be records about them because they were involved in that brotherhood or that industry.
So
sometimes you'll see that it'll say World War II veteran, you know, Vietnam or whatever, and then you know that you can go find military records, and you know sometimes you don't know about those things, but when you visit the graveyard and you can see other family members that are buried there, maybe there isn't anything special on this headstone, just a date, but the one next to it is a parent or a sibling that does have information that can lead you to records that'll help you do more research on your family. So when I make my wish list for travel, that's what I'll do. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be in this area, and so what ancestors or what family history can I find that's in that area? And I always will look for courthouses and libraries and museums. I mean, museums are the best. I can't tell you how many times I have found records that you would have expected to be in the courthouse that they've actually given to the museum because they don't have space anymore.
So it is about going to the little small museums. I mean, so you go see your grandparents and, you know, in their town, and then, you know, maybe turn around and say, hey, let's go check out this place too, you know, because I mean, that's neat. To me, the other thing is to look at historical markers, you know, and we travel, we'll go like, hey, let's pull over and see what this is about. And you'll find a whole story about some family and how they got there, you know. Look at Dick Wick Hall, Nancy.
Right.
Remember, we out in Salome, Arizona. I mean, there is no town. Like it is kind of. I mean, they had a little park thing, but we were like historical marker, historical, you know, it's a brown sign. We pull over. And so we went, and it's his graveyard. And he turned out, I mean, this was amazing. This guy, was he Irish or Welsh, Nancy?
Oh, I think he was Welsh, but I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, he was Welsh. He came over.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be a newspaper guy, a humorist. He was really funny. He started the Glory Hole mine, remember? And him and his brother did this, and he created he was kind of like the Mark Twain of the desert. And so we found this whole thing out, and him and a friend opened up a hotel thing. And here's the photo of it historically next to his grave. And they've got this all marked off and some of his sayings. And where we were standing, you look around, and that's where the hotel used to be. And we're like, wow, this is a trip. And remember, he had the little frog symbol that got real popular everywhere. Turned out had newspapers here, there, and everywhere. And then he finally had his big moment to write in Hollywood. And he drove out west. You know, think about way back in the 1800s, driving from across the desert to back west to LA. And he got real sick, and he died of like a toothache or something crazy. It was like complications from that and that and that. And he died right before he became famous. It was like, well, you know, so I'm glad he was, you know, and he changed his name Wick to Wick because of Wickenburg, Arizona, and writing the newspaper there. It's like, it's crazy.
Wow. Well, there's just so much.
And it could be your relative,
you know,
on a brown sign somewhere. How do you know? You know, it's like when we were in Springfield, Kentucky, we kept seeing the name Grundy everywhere, and we've interviewed Guy Grundy as an actor and a bodybuilder, and we're like, dude, you never know. It could be Guy's family, and it could be, you know what I mean? It's like, pull over and look at those signs, all those historical markers. It might be your relative.
Right. Well, if there's a little museum in a community where your family used to live, you're going to be shocked at what you'll find. The school records are often there. And you know, if it's in an era when photos were taken, they'll have photos.
Cool. Very cool.
Sometimes they have samples of the children's handwriting. It's just very fascinating. But I've been to museums. There's a museum in Salt Lake City called Daughters of Utah Pioneers. And, you know I have some women ancestors who came to Utah during the time period that they're considered pioneers. And wow, was I ever shocked to go down there and find pictures hanging on the wall of them that someone had donated and had never seen before. So if your family lived in an area, check it out, because the museums are also, they're cool because they have the old artifacts that they used, and sometimes I think, you know, how did they do certain things? And making rope. Have you ever made a rope?
I've done that.
There's a museum in Nebraska that I went to that they let me make my own piece of rope about 2 feet. And it's the coolest thing one of the funnest experiences I've ever done. But I wouldn't have probably even thought, how did they do this? You know, I just, you know, there's a rope. I have used them for different things, but in that old time, and it's quite a procedure, but to learn how they did that and actually participate in that activity. I love those living history museums. So if you're going to visit your family this spring, stop along the way. Yeah. And even if it's a museum or a park in an area that your family was never, it's a time period your family lived in. You're going to learn things that they would have done, even though they didn't live in that exact place. And so it's really how to make candles. I mean, I've participated in that, dipping candles from in museums, and that's what they use for their light, and to realize, man, that is all they had after dark. You know, it really gives you a whole new perspective. We just don't have any
I think
idea
it's
what it's really like.
Yeah, I think it's important to go back and try and do those activities because, like, even churning butter, Nancy and I, Nancy and I were
Yeah.
just talking about a visit that we went to the Kent House Plantation. It was in Alexandria, Louisiana. And they have a whole display there on how they used to, because they do a lot of sugarcane over there. And sugar's a big industry, sugar and rice in Louisiana is a big industry. And they have these huge, big sugarcane pots. And it was like, well, how did they do all this? And, the docent was telling us, I mean, the amount of work that went into squeezing and pressing the sugarcane to get the liquid, to make the sugar. I mean, I grew up in a sugarcane area in South Africa and in Kenya. It was a big deal. And it's just like it was night and day different what they used to do. And they used to have like mules that would go around and help with the process. And you have to see these big sugarcane pots, man. I mean, they're huge.
They're huge.
And just even how they had to move them. And they have all those little farmhouses. And I have a thing about the little one-room schoolhouses. I mean, you can't really get away with anything when you have those tiny little one-room schoolhouses as kids. I'd be in big trouble. And they had the dunce cap. Remember, you wouldn't get away with that now. It's like
No, you wouldn't.
Now we have safe spaces and stuff like that.
You can't even twist an ear now.
I know.
Yeah,
we used to pull each other's hair.
Get yourself in line.
Yeah, we used to do all kinds of naughty stuff, and you look at back then, all ages, remember Elvin Shields, Nancy, interviewing him? His parents went to school with him, in a one-room schoolhouse that everybody, all ages, got the same education at the same time because that was their one schoolhouse. They all went in there. It was like, and learned together as a family, because they were a sharecropper family in Louisiana. And it's just, to go to those places and you get a feel.
Is he the one that made the little wire toys?
Yeah, plantation toys. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, plantation toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating too.
Yeah, he's cool. We just saw him
so there
last
you go.
year.
You've got all kinds of fun things. So make those wish lists. Where are you going? And it's spring. You're going to go visit this family member. It's this holiday. You're going to go on a little trip to see things. Think about what else can I do while I'm on my way there, and get out a map and look and say, look, there's these museums, there's these churches, there are these cemeteries, there are these things along the way, and it just takes a few minutes to stop and check it out.
Yeah.
And you might be totally and libraries. Don't forget to keep libraries on your list because libraries have cool stuff. They really do.
And keep them on your list.
They even have displays.
Yeah, they do. They have museums sometimes in libraries, and keep them on your list because we need to keep libraries too. They keep wanting to tear libraries down across the country, and we need to not let that happen. They're resources for everyone.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Miss Holly. It's always fun having you on the show, Miss Holly, the Gen teacher. Everyone, her article about making a wish list for spring for your genealogy is up on blendradioandtv.com, and you'll see her other articles there. Of course, visit her on amazon.com. Just type in Holly T. Hansen, and you'll find her and all her books. Like she should have her own library. It's there. So go check it out there. And, we love to play music. And, we're thinking, we talked about Mother's Day, with Memorial Day, Easter. There's also Father's Day. And so I thought, well, we'll play Father's Day song early. Why not? This is called Da Da Da, and it's from the Madisons, and it was written for her dad. Lizzie Hara wrote this, and it's on their album Err on the Side of Love. It's a beautiful song, and we're going to play that now. And everyone, thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Here it is, Da Da Da. Thanks so much, Holly.
Thank you.
walls, you'll be there, listening to the sound of the systems working. You'll be making sure that the lights are glowing, the air is flowing, the water running round. You are listening closely to the sound. Da 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 da. There I will try to find you inside the logic of machines humming and the sound of the motor running. You'll be making sure that the lights are glowing, the air is flowing, the water running round. You are listening closely to the sound. I'll find you in the sky. You'll be the clouds, you'll be there, listening to the sound of the wind blowing. You'll be making sure that the earth is spinning and good is winning and love is all around. You are listening closely to the sound. Making sure that the earth is spinning and good is winning and love is all around. You are listening closely to the sound.